Hello, this is section B of paper 1 of Civil Service Examination, Public Administration. Question number 5A. The focus of development administration in developing countries has moved away from economic development to political development and to social development. And in fact, from preservation of inequalities to correction and inequalities in all spheres of the society has been the focus of development administration, and this point has to be elaborated. 5B. Public policies are aimed at solving public problems, and if policy evaluation is done and if it is found to be successful, it implies that the public administration is effective. Therefore, policy evaluation is a very significant input into governing a society. 5C. Weber's construct, bureaucracy, based on legal rational authority structure, is found universally in all countries. Then Weber has been Weber has been a foremost mentor of comparative public administration. It is quite possible to attain a universally accepted model of public administration using this comparative public administration model as indicated by Weber. Since almost all the countries are reeling under e-governance, good governance, privatization, etc., the possibility of developing a universal theory is quite possible. That has to be elaborated. 5D. Standards of administration are basically, as citizens' charters indicated, are outcomes. In fact, they complement the regulations of functioning of public administration. They are the anticipations of public, in fact. Therefore, they are not contradictory, but they are complementary to each other. 5A. Performance budgeting has been focusing on the spending of money at the end of the financial year, whereas outcome budgeting, with its quarterly milestones of performance, is in a position to continuously monitor the performance of government agencies, which is better than the performance budgeting system. 6A. FW Ricks proposes that change process is both exogenous and endogenous change, and exogenous change, which is brought from outside, creates more formalism and heterogeneity rather than endogenous change, which comes from within the society. Therefore, the focus should be on the change process in your answers. 6B. Personal development practices public in a country depend on more on the environment of the country and the situation in which the government is operating. In a country where there are more educated but unemployed, the government may focus on self-employment programs rather than providing employment directly. That should be the focus. 6C. Charles Lindblom emphasized incrementalism as a policy alternative because rational decision making or rational policy making is not possible in public administration, since factors like sunk funds, political expediencies, lack of alternatives, lack of time, etc., are the factors that influence the functioning of the public administration policy making. In incrementalism, would solve many of such issues in policy formulation and implementation. 7A. Washington Consensus emphasized on free market economic policies to increase the role of market, causing low government borrowings, reduction in subsidies, liberalization of imports, privatization of state enterprises, etc. However, when these are adopted, consequences are that the social objectives of the government are given a backseat and at times causing economic collapse, such as in Sri Lanka. 7B. Budgeting in the government is both a political and economic process. Budget happens to be the instrument through which election promises of the party in power are translated into programs with budgetary allocations. Thus, budget is a document to know the intentions of the intentions, whether the whether the concerns of the public are incorporated in government programs or not. 7C. Training definitely has a role in improving the performance of an employee in delivery of services mechanically. However, training alone is insufficient. One is reminded of the Action Committee's recommendations as training, such as increasing morale, motivation, and commitment to the goals of the organization. Only then performance will be improved. 8A. Audit has always been a mechanism constituted to gauge the performance of the government and on its financial management. Internal audit has the opportunity of constantly monitoring the department's performance by its reports and can effectively affect course correction when needed. 8B. Public services ethics generally are equated with anti-corruption efforts, but one is reminded of the Nolan Committee recommendation. However, Nolan Committee recommendations of public service ethics such as selflessness, integrity, objectivity, accountability, openness, honesty, and leadership. 8C. The divergence between policy implementation and policy formulation, secretariat and field agencies is the reason of conflict between implementers and formulators. Curzon's idea of tenure system has envisaged such issue and attempted a solution. In it may be very much relevant today to implement Curzon's solution of a tenure system truly and effectively.